Can you explain how people get big damage numbers when the weapon's damage is total like yours? Yes. So a few weeks ago, a viewer asked me that question during a live stream. And so what you're about to see is that clip from the stream where I helped explain exactly how damage works and is calculated in Warframe. If you're a newer player, this might be helpful for you since damage in Warframe works differently from like every other game. Specifically, how going over 100% crit chance, status chance, and multi-shot continues to give additional status, scaling damage and stats, as opposed to like 100% being the max. So it's pretty unique and it's pretty awesome. This was right after the Jade Shadows update when the entire status damage rework happened. So as of today, this is the most recent information of the game. If that changes in the future, I'll create an updated guide to kind of keep all the information current. This information is meant to be a resource for new and returning players, and if I miss something or you just want to add some additional examples or information, please do share those in the comments below. I'd love for this to be a helpful resource for everyone. If you found any of the information helpful and you'd like to help support the channel, please hit the like button and get subscribed, and go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what else you'd like to know more about in Warframe. I've been playing the game since 2014 and I've been an official Warframe creator since 2016, so let me know. I'd be happy to dive into some topics or create some guides for y'all. Can you explain how people get big damage numbers when the weapon's damage is total like yours? Yes, so that would be stacking damage. Yeah, Warframe is one of those funny math games. A good example of this, so the Canter is not a great example. A really good example of this is something like the Compressa. Compressa's got insanely low damage numbers, and you use arcanes or stacking damage mods to get that damage up. I'll show you in a second. I just want to try this. How'd you get back? Weird. Yeah, that's much easier to look at the damage now. So now we're at 14,000. That was much easier to get going. Yeah, the heat is much easier. Jesus. You know the crazy part? $23,000. The crazy part was we didn't even care about anything that they were weak to. Do we even have impact? Nope. We have heat / puncture magnetic. We don't even have impact. They used to be weak to puncture, not anymore. Wow, dude. That's pretty crazy. All right. Well, that feels insanely good. Dang. Yeah, I mean a little, but the Cascadia Flare stacking on heat with Galvanized Shot stacking damage is so much better. So in this situation, let's just use this as the example, Silrain. So what we're looking at here, so Warframe has multiple different ways that damage gets calculated. The first one is flat damage, right? Anything that just says plus to damage, huzzah, right? That gives you direct damage numbers. So like Hornet Strike, Serration, Point Strike, you know, those types of things. Pressure Point. They are very good for the most part. These are very important mods to max first, especially on your journey in the game. They just straight up say damage number go up. All right. And like you've been seeing, that makes damage number go up. Don't pay attention to the 571. It was 90. So this takes 90 to 280. Pretty good. The next thing that happens is you're looking at things like multi-shot. So how many bullets or projectiles come out of the end per time you pull the trigger. So things like galvanized diffusion. Before you get that, it's called barrel diffusion, 120 multi-shot. So For multi-shot, 100% is 1 bullet. Okay? And how multi-shot works is the same as crit chance in Warframe. Now we're at plus 120%. Well, that says 2.2 multi-shot. That means that we've got a 20% chance for a third bullet. So right now we've got the initial one from the weapon. Every time we throw a dagger, right, with this one, or pull the trigger, plus the extra 100%, so a free second bullet every time, plus a 20% chance, 0.2% chance to throw a third one. Pretty damn good. On a mod like the Galvanize mods, these ones stack over time. So this says 110 base multi-shot, but every kill gives you another 30 for 20 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. So you get 4 kills, you have another 120 multi-shot for 20 seconds, and it refreshes with every kill. So essentially, as long as you're in a mission and you're continuously getting kills, you keep your multi-shot, you're throwing more shots, right? More bullets. So the base multi-shot number is taken into account, right? Which is why we see this calculation go up. 2.2 bullets multiplied by your damage numbers give you bigger number. The third way to add damage in Warframe is crit chance and crit damage. The crit multiplier is crit damage. So I don't know why it still says crit multiplier. It makes sense, but it's crit damage, it's a multiplier, it makes sense. So the mods for this, the base ones are Pistol Gambit, increasing your crit chance, Target Cracker, increasing your crit damage, right? They're pretty straightforward. Bigger crit number when you crit, that multiplies your damage. Crit chance is the amount of chance to actually crit. As this tooltip says here, values over 100 have a chance to become big hits, big crit hits, orange, and over 200 has a chance to become super crits, red. This continues going up for every 100 crit chance. It multiplies beyond. So essentially think of like every 100 extra gives you another crit tier. So the orange, the red, they're all red after that. But as you see here, orange crits are double damage, triple, red crits are triple damage. The tier after that is quad. The tier after that is hex, penta, so on and so forth, right? For every tier above. So basically those two multiply together, and it's the same as multi-shot. So like if we put on some crit chance, for example, we now have a 51.7% chance to get a crit. Just a yellow crit, just an orange little guy. However, if this were to say 151, now we're guaranteed a crit chance, right? The 100% is a guaranteed yellow crit with a 51.7% chance to get an orange crit. So you can keep stacking over the amount on Warframe. That's how it goes. So each overage in between the next 100 is the percentage that you'll trigger the next one. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like moving the floor. It's moving your base up essentially. So, you know, now instead of, if we're pretending that this says 151, now you're always, the one essentially just means you're guaranteed a crit every hit with a 51% chance to go up to the next tier. And then if this were to say 251, same type of thing. You're getting double crits, but now you're having a 51% chance to go up to the next tier, and so on and so forth. So it's not like other games. Warframe is pretty unique in that way. Is really, really good. It's really good. The fourth way to add damage in Warframe is elemental damage. So as we can see here, this weapon comes with slash and puncture, right? And if we want to add more damage into the mix, you add something that says like add heat damage. Oh, now it just added heat damage into the mix, which is also affected by Hornet Strike and Barrel Diffusion and gets calculated into our total damage number. That's pretty good. That's really good. So you can only do this with elemental damage. You can't, for example, this weapon only has slash and puncture. You can't add in a mod that adds impact damage. For whatever reason, you've never been able to do this. Adding 120 impact via a mod doesn't give you impact. It's just how it is with the base damage types. Slash, puncture, impact are like the core three. For whatever reason, you can't add ones that aren't already there, but I can give myself more slash. Slash number go up. So elemental mods are super, super valuable, especially the ones that are the dual stats that cost 7. So like Frostbite, you get 60% cold and 60% status. So status is as you'd expect, right? As it says here, the chance that each status effect will proc per hit that you'll affect the enemy target. So if we put Frost on, now we've got a 35% chance for one of these to happen. And as you can see here, it's a 6.6% chance that it'll be a puncture, 15% chance that it's a slash, 13% chance that it's cold. We can also make hybrid elements. And now we've turned the cold into magnetic. And because we had another 60% status, we've now increased our odds. Now we've got a 26% chance that a magnetic proc happens. So you can add status effects, which of course, when they stack on enemies, that's good. Things happen. Each of them does something in the game, right? The fun part about status effects comes all the way back to these scaling damage mods. So like Galvanized Diffusion, on kill, you gain multi-shot. Well, you also have this mod here. You gain base status chance, but this one also has 40% direct damage, right? Direct damage per status type affecting the target for 14 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times per status effect. So now we're saying, okay, we've got slash, puncture, magnetic. That's 3 status effects. That means that if I use this mod now, it adds the flat 80% status chance, which is good, so we're up to 66. Now every time we shoot or hit an enemy with this weapon, we have a 36% chance for magnetic, 21/9 puncture, right? But the more important part is, when we get a kill, right, we gain 40% damage per status of type affecting the target. So now, if we kill a target that has all 3 of these, and they have 3 slash status effects, 3 punctures, 3 magnetics, because some of these in the game stack infinitely, like slash, some of them cap out at 10. You know what I mean? They've all got their own little caps. So once they hit the actual cap, they can't get any more status effects. But now we're talking, right? Let's say just slash is being applied. This mod alone will add 120 direct damage, kind of like Hornet Strike. So this says 220 for everything. This will give you 120 for everything for just the slash. Now, if that same enemy also has 3 puncture status effects, that's another 120 damage. If you also hit them with 3 magnetics, that's another 120 damage. So you can see how weapons that have, you know, slash, puncture, impact, you add a bunch more elements, you know, so we have dual element here. We could also add in the radiation one. So now we've got another element. And because these 2 are combined, we've got an open slot. We could put in another element. We could do in the toxic one, a pistol pestilence. Now we've got toxic, slash, radiation, puncture, magnetic. Imagine if all 5 of those were applied at a time, each one adding 120% damage to your weapon. Number get big, right? So most of the situations where you see big numbers coming out of small numbers is something that's scaling damage and stacking quite high. Something like Cascadia Flare does something similar, right? On heat status effects, so just heat, you get 12% damage for 10 seconds, up to 480% damage. And this does not mean only 480% damage for heat. This is literally everything. So as long as you're applying heat status effects, you're gaining 480% damage, which is like more than 2 Hornet Strikes worth of damage to everything. Yeah. Warframe, big multiply number. And then the final piece of the puzzle, the 5th way of adding damage. Well, actually, we actually have a new mod in the game. So there's a new mod in the game now called Elementalist, which actually gives us status damage to the 6 status damages you see on screen. These are the ones that apply, that have like damage over time. These ones do dots. So these new mods will give you 90 status damage to slash, heat, electricity, toxic, blast, and gas. Once those status effects are ticking on enemies, that tick damage will be increased by 90%. Pretty good. Not terrible. The final piece of the puzzle, which I was going to talk about before I remembered that we just got new mods, are the Bane mods. What is it, Expel? So they're the faction mods. So they're named something different on every weapon. On pistols, they're Expel. On rifles, they're Bane. On melee, they are Cleanse. But they all deal a multiplier to Infested, to Grineer, to Murmur, to Corpus, to Corrupted, now renamed as of 2 days ago to Orokin. These are unique. These are very, very unique in the game in that they do not combine with all of your damage to give you your total. These will multiply your final total damage number times that faction. So like Link is typing in chat right now, they're multiplicative to the faction, which is insane. They're very, very strong. So it's a little weird, and I'm really hoping in the future we get a separate slot like over here for these, because a lot of the time it's difficult to find room in a build, especially with how much like variety and different mods we have in the game now. Of course, that would just add to power creep, but imagine whatever this number is, 19, 50, 65, multiplied by all this stacking damage from this, that final number gets multiplied by 30%, by 1.3 to Murmur, if we're fighting Murmur, or 1.3 against Orokin, or 1.3 against all Infested. Then you can start dealing some big numbers as well. I would say I only use these, as you can see, I only use the Murmur one. I've never used the rest of these. As you can clearly tell, they are completely unranked. So they're good. They're real good. But it's hard finding room for these in a build. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly what Brissinger, I hope I said that correct, is saying. Especially since they multiply the initial and increase the damage over time. These are very, very good because they sit outside of the multiplied damage. They just take whatever you're doing and go, hey, here's 30% additional. They're pretty disgusting. Exactly. Yeah, you're double dipping pretty hardcore with these. You know, so they're really good. The problem is if you just want like one config page, right? That's gonna work for everything. Every time you do a new mission, you're like, all right, we're fighting Grineer. Okay, hold on, let me go back to the arsenal. Let me swap out my mod, my one flex slot, whatever your flex slot is. Let's pretend that synth charge didn't actually work because we're on Kentear. Maybe this is your flex slot. All right, okay, run the mission, go back out. Oh, you guys want to do an infested? Sure, hold on, let me go back to my arsenal. Let me swap this mod. Let me swap this mod. Let me swap this mod. Like, nobody's doing that. Ain't nobody doing that. Yeah. So, but you're right. Yeah, we do have the loadouts on the star chart now. But that's why I'm hoping we get a special spot for these, Or there's some system where it's like, once you acquire these, you can just like ding, 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 ding. You can just install them all. That's a whole new level of power creep, obviously. If they're just like, yeah, once you acquire them, Corp in that slot, Corpus in the Corpus slot, Orokin in the Orokin slot, Grineer in the Grineer slot, Infested in the Infested slot, whatever. All right, there you go. That would be neat, but we'll see. Yeah, GPZ, you're right. We can already one-shot everything that we want, so who cares? But I'm back now. Damage in Warframe stacks like crazy. It scales like crazy, stacks like crazy. That's why you just saw these tiny little 54, 63, 23, this 571, because of Galvanized Shot and Cascadia Flare, dealing so much damage to these guys. Level 225 heavy gunners, right? When on Earth would 500 damage deal a bunch of damage to these guys? Well, there we go. We just added 168% damage from Cascadia Flare. Let's increase that. 12,000, 13,000s. Okay, it's at 348. Let's keep it going. Boom, 480%. Now we're dealing, what are we dealing on our returns? 16, 18,000s on that guy. 15,000s, 18,000s. There's a couple 18s, but yeah. Number go up. Yeah, you're very welcome. That's something that I never really learned myself until this past year, till I started doing my great catch-upping and like collecting everything in the game and replaying old content I never, you know, that we just kind of did to get by previously. Yeah, I've relearned the damage system relatively recently, so like within the past year, so it's fresh. It's fresh. Yep. Oh yeah, I don't think that's unpopular at all. Concrete. I think that's probably how most people play the game. If things die, you don't need max damage. Yeah, you really don't need to get like the super fine-tuned min-max damage. That's why I always say, if you want to build something how you want to build it, just do it. You know, there is no right or wrong way to build in Warframe. You know, if it's clearing the content you want, and you want to just smash enemies with magnetic damage or gas damage, or you want to apply a bunch of slash, whatever, it's cool. It's no big deal. So, but yeah, it's pretty wild. You just got to remember like how all those different types stack. Base damage, crit damage, multi-shot, elemental damage, give you damage number, then faction mod, multiplying all of it. It's crazy.